I came here last November and talked a little bit about some of the things that we were doing with our developer relations program. That was all pre-launch. My background, if it's of any interest, is worked at 3 startups now. I've founded 3 companies, worked at a couple other smaller companies, and also worked at some incredibly large companies, Microsoft for 9 years, for example, and one company that's on a diet right now, BlackBerry. But anyway, so there's a lot of different things that we've learned along the way. And this particular presentation is about what we set out to do when we were building the app ecosystem around BlackBerry 10, the reasons we did it, the techniques that we used, some of them are a little bit different maybe, and the results that we achieved. So, January 30th, that was our target, January 30th of this past year, and we had a couple of pretty lofty goals. One of them was to have a larger application catalog than anybody had seen at Gen 1 of a product. So for the last couple of years, my team has been trotting around the globe persuading developers that they should build applications for a platform that has no customers, exactly 0 customers. And that was our mandate, was to go out and get that application catalog built. To do some new things in developer relations, become a model that people could actually emulate. And the last one was to create, obviously, a thriving, successful ecosystem of BlackBerry developers. And again, this was kind of a foreign concept to BlackBerry. I joined the company about 2 years ago, in fact. And I joined it at a time when management was coming to grips with the fact that they needed an applications ecosystem, but they didn't know how to go out and build one, and they had ignored the ecosystem that their competitors were building around them for the last couple of years. So that's what we set out to do. Next one. What we achieved, as I said, in May of last year, we had 0 applications. By January 30th, our target was 70,000. We hit that 70,000 number, just past, I think it was 70,200 and something. Guys cranking all week long to try and get applications vetted through the store. And that head of steam that we built continued on through post-launch. 120,000 was the last number that we announced in May of this past year. The other thing that we did, which we're pretty proud of, was we identified the top 1,000 applications across our competitors' stores, and we obtained commitments for 75% of those folks to be on the platform pretty much immediately post-launch. There's still a few notable exceptions. I mean, I'm sure that somebody will ask me at some point about Netflix. We can still continue to work away at those, but we've got a pretty good, solid catalog of applications. And one that, incidentally, matches our customer base. It was great to hear Claudia talk about the fact that her customer is an older woman, not a young guy walking around the valley with a smartphone. And guess what? Our customers are 60% women, and they tend to be moms and parents, right? So it's pretty cool. Let's go to the next one. What did we achieve? We built the catalog, and when I say that we set out to build a larger catalog than anybody had seen at launch, these are our competitors, Amazon and Apple and Windows Phone, from their month 1 at 0 up to their month 4. Most successful was Amazon, with just under 10,000 applications by the time they reached month 4. Apple was sitting at about 7,000. Poor folks in Android were really struggling to figure out what they needed to do in those early days. And if you look at the next slide, which is the comparison, that's where we ended up. So the full multiple orders of magnitude higher than what had been previously seen. As I said, it was a real feat to go out and convince developers to stick 70,000 applications in the store with no market to sell through. Anyway, some of the things that we did. Go ahead. Yeah. We spent a lot of energy. One of the very first things I did, which is a little bit uncommon for a developer relations group, was I invested heavily in building a marketing team. We knew that we were going to have to build out some programs that were going to have to be smart about going after specific demographics of developers. So we did a lot of work on segmentation. We did a lot of work on understanding the motivations of these particular developers, and then we built programs around doing that. Developers, very broadly speaking, come in 3 categories. There's the hackers, the people who do it because it's really cool or they want to learn something new. There are corporates who do it because they're getting paid to do it, and in between there's a category of entrepreneurs. And so part of the effort that we went through to get those 70,000 applications into the store was to appeal to the far ends of the spectrum, because we knew that the entrepreneurs were going to make their decisions to get onto the platform based solely on the opportunity that was available to them. And an opportunity with no customers is not an opportunity.
So that's what we did. We built programs that put devices into market. You can see there's the Dev Alpha, the Dev Alpha B, and the Dev Alpha C. 3 devices that were created solely for developers, and they were built long in advance of when we shipped the product. We also seeded playbooks in, because building an application for Playbook is just like building an application for one of these handset platforms as well. And in total, I think we moved close to 40,000 devices into market, into the hands of developers to build applications with and test and work on. And there's some funny stories there too. It's hard to get devices into some countries. Some of our most successful developers in the world are Chinese, and so I have personally hand-carried suitcases full of devices through Chinese customs into Beijing and Shanghai and other places like that, because that's what was required to get the job done. Let's go to the next one. Another thing that we emphasized, which is really, really quite different from what the rest of the industry does, is being open. So on the one side here, you have the full list of different features that we publish on a regular basis up on our developer website. It will tell you when the APIs and the subsystems that you're looking for are coming, whether or not they're on time, whether they're going to slip, et cetera, et cetera. So you as a developer, as a business person who is building applications probably for multiple platforms, can gauge when it's appropriate to put effort onto building particular features onto the BlackBerry operating system. And the other piece on the right side, one of the things that we said was, you know what, we need to be fundamentally more open than anybody else is in the industry. So yes, there's a native platform that you can build applications for on BlackBerry 10. It's a POSIX platform that you program using ANSI standard C or C++ with some open source frameworks like Qt on top of it, or gaming frameworks like Marmalade or Unity on top of that. We've also got our own framework called Cascades, which is very, very easy for developers to use. But we've also been very, very heavily invested in HTML5. HTML5, we actually, if you go to html5test.com, you'll find that in terms of compliance, there isn't another platform on the planet today, shipping platform, because I know the folks at Tizen have beaten our score on their beta platform.
We're not done yet.
Yeah. That is standards compliant as we are, and we score a whopping 485 out of 500 possible on that platform. So it's an incredibly good HTML5 platform. It's also got accelerated graphics and WebGL built into it, so you can build games with it. We went to the folks at PhoneGap and worked with them to create a technology that we call WebWorks, which is a combination of the PhoneGap packaging technologies plus some JavaScript extensions that talk to our native pieces there as well. So you can package an application up. It's been built with HTML5, and you can stick it in our store as well. And then, just as we had done in the native world, we went out and partnered with a bunch of framework manufacturers. So Sencha, jQuery Mobile, and so on and so forth. Lots of different ways to bring code to the platform. The Android player. We had an Android player built into the operating system that would allow you to take an Android application and run it natively on the BlackBerry 10 device. Simple repackaging job, takes about 5 minutes. We support somewhere between 60 and 70% of the full Android Gingerbread API set. Jelly Bean's coming up in a subsequent release in a couple months' time. But again, good opportunity for someone who wants to dip their toes in the water and see if they can make any money in the BlackBerry store to simply package up an existing Android application and do that. And we've seen lots of examples of companies that are doing that, and then later on will choose to go and build a native application. So Songs is a really good one. They took their Android application, stuck it in the store, a month later said, you know what, this is going well enough, and we'd rather give our customer a native BlackBerry experience. So now they're building a native application. And Adobe Air as well. So whole idea here is we don't want to necessarily tell you that you have to go and take your application and rewrite it for our platform. If you have code, we're going to try and run it on the platform so that you can take full advantage of the customer base as quickly as possible. Let's go to the next one. And then, again, you're trying to overcome this gap of you've got no customers, but you need people to build applications. So we guaranteed developers that they would make at least $10,000 on building an application for the BlackBerry store. And for a lot of venture class entrepreneurs in the Valley, that $10,000 didn't make any difference at all. And I think it's no coincidence that some 40% of our applications come from countries like India and China, where $10,000 is real money. So we did that.
we built a program called Built for BlackBerry. If your application was a great BlackBerry experience, it took advantage of the BlackBerry user experience paradigm, it wasn't just a straight port from somewhere else, you made that effort, then you were eligible for that. If you got your application into store before launch, we gave you one of these, which is a unique device. It's a fire engine red, a Ferrari red, BlackBerry 10 device, uniquely serial numbered for developers only. There are only 12,000 of them made. If you got one, you got bragging rights. And again, lots of people got these things. It was pretty cool. Let's go to the next one. In terms of becoming an industry model for developer relations, we really wanted to turn things around. I had been a mobile developer working with competing platforms, and I knew that there was an opportunity for a company to sit down and say, look, we want to be a great business partner, not just a tools provider or give you a business opportunity. We want to be a great business partner as well. That's what we set out to do. So let's have a look at this one. One of the very first things that we did was we went to build out the developer relations team and put them all over the world. When I joined the company, there were 42 people in developer relations. 6 of them promptly quit. It was a massive vote of confidence. But I had the luxury of building a team which sits today at just over 150 people. And most of those people were pushed into places around the world. So we've got people in Europe, in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, every continent in the planet except for Antarctica because we couldn't find any developers there. And all doing evangelism work to go and talk to the developer community. So Larry here works out of the Silicon Valley office, and Tom is manager of our developer relations team for the Americas. We went on a world tour. It started out as 19 cities, going around handing out devices and talking to developers in different cities all across the world. I spent most of last summer traveling. I personally logged 354,000 miles last year. It was kind of crazy. The rest of the team did similar kinds of things. The tour was so popular with the general managers of our businesses around the world that when we ran out of budget, because we had budget for 19 cities, they started coughing up their own dollars, and we ended up going to 44 cities across the globe. So pretty phenomenal effort there. We saw an immediate swing in sentiment from developers who attended those things. We're very, very focused on tracking numbers. When I started in August of 2011, Net Promoter Score, everybody know what that is? Yeah, sitting at minus 43. Developers would you promote BlackBerry to other developers? No, minus 43 was it. The latest number that we measured was a nice 56, so I feel pretty good about that. Over 8 quarters, we moved it over 100 points. And a large part of it was doing this kind of thing. We ran events, again, in every geography. We used to run a developer conference annually in San Francisco. We've got one now going in Asia. The next one's coming up in Hong Kong. I'd love it if you came. It would be fun. Hong Kong's a great city. We'll be having one in Europe in January in Barcelona as well. And again, these attract lineups of people who are interested in what the BlackBerry 10 platform is about, and they come and they learn about the latest technologies. One of the most successful things that we've done is the global tech centers. These are built-out locations in geographies all over the place that let developers come and learn from other developers. They're kind of drop-in center, sort of incubator type thing. In Latin America, one of our team members down there started to partner with universities, and he set it up so that kids could get credits for manning the tech centers and helping other people to do that. And suddenly he had hundreds of people applying for 10 spots at the tech center to be able to go and work with other kids and build applications. And they set themselves up as little businesses inside the university so that they can go out and sell their services. Well, they're now in Brazil, they're now servicing companies like Petrobras who want to get BlackBerry 10 applications done, but the expertise isn't existing in the country, and the universities are doing this, and the kids are getting credits for doing that, and the money that they collect from Petrobras for being these consultants goes back into the university economy. They get to keep it all. So we're in the process of taking that initiative that was started in Brazil and transforming the tech centers around the world into a network that we're going to call the BlackBerry Innovators Network, focused on the startup community and getting people to build innovation onto the BlackBerry platform. Virtually, I mean, it would be remiss of me not to talk about some of the stuff that we've done. We run a weekly webcast to our best developers, the Rolling Thunder webcast, where we talk to them about the things that we're doing. We preview new ideas with our BlackBerry elites who are under NDA, and they know which things they can talk about and which they can't talk about. We have online support sessions, online versions of office hours, so if you can't come to one of our tech centers, you can get access from, you can get help from people at one of those. Our developers are active on forums, and again, the forums that we used to have terrible numbers, and so we've seen the average time to respond go down to it's just under 2 hours now to get an answer on a BlackBerry forum, and that's what we've been over the last couple of years. So as a developer, that's wonderful to have that. The portathons, this is one of these things where when I said that we had 0 applications in May, by September, we only had 10 or 15,000, and we knew that there was no way that we were going to hit that 70,000 number by January if we kept it going at the rate that we were going at. And so, bit of startup background there. We didn't spend the kinds of time that an ordinary large company would spend analyzing programs and testing them and so on. We started building small test programs, checking to see if they got any kind of a result, and then taking the best of that and pivoting away. A lot of sharp course changes. So by December, we had refined the concept of the portathon, which came out of an old tactic that we used to use at Microsoft years ago, the porting labs. We refined that to the point where we could run a large online session and get developers to come in and start to build applications and port them onto the platform over a period of a weekend. And my guys literally spent from Friday noon until Saturday midnight, so it's straight 36 hours online with talking to developers around the world. And the first of these we had 5,000 ports done in a weekend. And the next one was 12,000. The final one was 33,000. So again, with a lot of experimentation, startup style, pivoting, move, pivot, move, online virtual versus physical, we arrived at a formula that was a total winner. And we provided a very small financial incentive. Again, it was $100 per application to a maximum of $2,000. So if you were a developer, I mentioned India and China, if you were a developer in one of these emerging countries, making $2,000 in a weekend is pretty good coin. It's a very definite motivator, and that's what they did. Let's have look at the next one. Ecosystem. Let's go to the next one. So. We're pretty proud of the turnaround on this. It talks about the number of posts, 91,000 posts viewed 467 million times, and a 77% increase in vendor accounts. We took, in a 2-year period, the number of developers building for BlackBerry from 16,000 to just over 70,000. So again, a pretty impressive result on that one, and a lot of momentum getting built there. Let's go to the next one. And in terms of sentiment, I told you we had an NPS of minus 43 in August of 2011. By May of 2012, it was pretty neutral. 47% would recommend, some number would not. By May 2013, it was sitting at 88% would recommend. I mean, I think the stat that I'm most proud of around this one was when Strategy Analytics ran a poll of developers, over 3,000 of them, and asked them about the quality of developer programs in the industry. We scored an 8 out of 10, which was the highest score of any mobile platform provider in the industry. Apple was just under that. Some of our friends at Microsoft were sitting at like 5.5. So it was a pretty vindicating result. Let's go. Is that it? Choice, another one. This is kind of an oddball and confusing chart, but when Vision Mobile did this study, what they were looking at is what's the primary platform of choice, right? So amongst developers that build for BlackBerry, 38% of them chose BlackBerry as the first platform that they chose. And very similar to Android or iOS, 44 and 48%. And they categorized others as extension platforms because such a large percentage of them, yes, they do build for it, but they don't choose to build for that platform first, and then filler platforms down here. And the fillers are mostly platforms that are on their way out, like Java ME or Flash. So again, feeling pretty good about that. They categorize this with amongst the top 3 platforms in the industry from the developer's point of view. Next up. And that's it. It's a big new journey, and lots and lots of new things to do.